this right hand corner that says connect to your platforms.
Welcome to Queens of WWE, episode 6. I am your host, Kyle the Man Anthony, joined by my co-host, CJP. CJ, what's up?
What's going on, everybody? It's the EVP, CJP, the golden boy of DWE. What's going on, Kyle? You know, it's been crazy. Talked to you a couple of times today, and I was like, Kyle, this is not episode 6, it's episode 5. And like, I do so much stuff. So I went back and like looked at your first your episode, and I was like, well, I was wrong. I guess this is episode 6, but I'm excited to be here. We're on the road to SummerSlam, so and Heat Wave in August, so a lot to go over. And yeah, been looking forward to this since Monday. So
yeah, okay, yeah. So let's get into it. Going over from SmackDown, we got some breaking news. Finally, got something new about Rhea Ripley's championship situation. So Adam Pearce, before the show on SmackDown, said that due to Rhea Ripley's injury, there will be a interim women's champion that will be crowned in a ladder match at SummerSlam. Now, there's a lot of things to say about this. I'll go with the positive first. I called this about being a ladder match. I said let the championship be vacated and then them have a ladder match and have a new champion crown at SummerSlam in a ladder match. So they are doing that, but the whole thing, the black hole here is they said interim women's championship. You know, I've heard this phrase about Rhea, and I completely agree that they are showing a lot of favoritism towards Rhea Ripley, and it's pretty sad that they have no faith in the rest of in their own women on that show, that they are just hyping Rhea Ripley only, and they don't care about anyone else. They view as Rhea Ripley number one, and everyone else second, not interested or they don't give a damn about the rest of the women that's on the show. That's pretty sad. We have Tiffany Stratton, who is a former women's champion, who looks like a top star, who is a top star. Yes, she is the U.S. champion. We'll get to that in a minute because I think that makes no sense, her being in this match, but I get why. But anyway, so you have someone like Tiffany Stratton. You already have Charlotte there. You have Alexa there. So you have names on the show. You have Blake Monroe there that you're not doing nothing with. So the fact they are doing this with Rhea Ripley is showing favoritism. It's showing that they are treating Rhea Ripley like Roman Reigns, but yet she doesn't get booed like Reigns did, or even Becky when she was champion for as long as she was in 2019 and beginning of 2020. That's how, or even Charlotte at the time when she continuously winning the championship in 2016 over and over again when she was feuding with Sasha Banks that year. So I think this is sad. I think you should let the woman heal. Should let her deal with her, just recover from her injury and then have her come back. And whoever would have won the championship in that ladder match at SummerSlam, they would have done a rematch at whatever show. That whether it happens at Money in the Bank or Survivor Series or even at the Rumble, whenever she's able to get cleared to do the match there, and then they'll crown the new champion. I don't know why they had to do this, because here's what it just reminds me they could have Rhea the real champion, and then whoever the other champion is, they're gonna crown an undisputed champion. Like this whole no more this undisputed nonsense. We've seen too much of that, too much already with the men, and they're doing the same thing with the women. I don't like it. I feel like they should have just had a straightforward with Rhea relinquishing, but at least we have an answer, and it's not the same old we were complaining about for last weeks, throughout the last few weeks. So I don't care for it, but I love the ladder match. I just wish it was for the vacant women's championship. So they're playing favoritism, and I think it's sad, and I think it's pathetic. They don't have any faith in the current women on SmackDown, and giving them a chance to show what they can do. It's not relying on the top stars only. But that's all I have to say about it. CJ, how you feel about this whole situation about Rhea and the ladder match scenario?
Well, I have a lot to say about it actually. I'll try to get it out as quick as possible. It's terrible. It's absolutely awful. At the end of the day, they're not selling tickets. I mean, they're having to sell tickets for $25 at SummerSlam, which is just pretty much the price of what the creative is right now, in my opinion. So you got a champion, which we've talked about over the past couple of weeks, Rhea Ripley, top 3, top 4, maybe top 5 overall in the whole company. I'm talking pay wise, merchandise. She's just a mega star with the company. So WWE, Triple H, TKO, whoever was involved, decided that okay, well, we're gonna wait. We're gonna play the waiting game with Rhea Ripley because I understand for from a business aspect a little bit, because you don't want your biggest female star not on your second biggest show. She could have helped with ticket sales a little bit, I would assume. But the biggest problem I have with this, Kyle, is number one, why is Tiffany Stratton in this match? She's the United States title. And number two, this messed up creative. Like, I'm not going into the whole scoop thing, but I'm telling the facts. Like, there were matches that were planned. We were supposed to get a Charlotte Jade match with maybe a stipulation. Maybe we were going to get Blake and Tiffany. Now Tiffany's not going to defend her U.S. title in her hometown. She's going to be going after a title that basically somebody's just going to hold long enough for Rhea Ripley to come back, which now they're saying she possibly could be back by the Sunday night main event in September, which is, God, I hope not. Like, at the end of the day, for Rhea's sake, like, I love Rhea. She's one of my favorites, but at the end of the day, like, they should have let her heal. She was not only dealing with an injury, a knee injury, she was dealing with personal stuff as well that I'm not going to put out there. So she needed some time off. So, like, don't wait till 2 weeks before SummerSlam to make a decision on what to do here, and then throw something at the wall hoping it sticks. And we still don't even know the other 2 matches for the qualifiers. So you not only are you making an interim champion, which is absolutely the most awful idea that you can do, because they're just going to be losing the title right back to Rhea. You messed up creative. Like, there's 3 other matches that could have taken place on the SummerSlam card, and it just goes back to show that they just, I don't know. There needs to be a big change at the top, man. Something's just not right. I ranted about it for 40 plus minutes Friday, and it's just, I don't know. I'm speechless. Hopefully, at the end of the day, like, I'm sure you'll want to, you can rebuttal this. I want to hear what your thoughts are, but they love the moment. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tiffany wins it. It's in her home. It's in her hometown. I mean, it's just a placeholder championship anyway till Rhea gets back. I wouldn't be surprised. I doubt Charlotte Flair, if she qualifies, that she's going to want to drop the title in a month or 2. That would be stupid for her. She's had the title 14 times. If you put Monroe in the match, she hasn't even had a match on TV. So, like, the creative is it's a creative jump right now.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to, okay, so I'm trying to think about this real fast. So, involving the Rhea injury again, I feel like too, another thing I forgot to mention as well is that when Naomi was injured, this is the best comparison I could come out with when it comes to this. When Naomi was injured in 2017, she won the SmackDown Women's Championship from Alexa Bliss at the Elimination Chamber. but she got hurt in that match. She was forced to strip. She was forced to get stripped from the championship that Tuesday on SmackDown that year. They did a match between Alexa and Becky for the vacant championship. Alexa won the title back. Naomi comes back. She ends up in the match in that it was a 6-pack challenge at WrestleMania. She won the title back at WrestleMania. That was what, 2 months later. So they could have done the same thing here with Rhea Ripley. And they are very, very 1,000% player favoritism, because what makes it stupid too is that this isn't like Becky's injury. When Becky got punched in the face, she only missed only a week of TV, and she came back at the end of November that year, 2018. So that was lucky at that point there. But with Rhea, she's been gone since May, 2 months with no word of anything. Maybe I think maybe it was actually a whole month with no information, and all of a sudden they say she's going to be an interim champion. They knew that this woman was injured. They should have just stripped her from the championship and just done the ladder match as it is, and just crown a new champion, and had that person be champion for however long, and that until Rhea came back, and then they could have picked up the pick up where they left off with Rhea when she came back. I look at this and I look at this and I'm saying to myself, I think Rhea should never be the women's champion ever again. This is twice now that this woman's got hurt, and last time she wasn't champion when she was feuding with Liv 2 years ago. She wasn't the champion, but still, this woman is clearly has suffered injuries and before, and and they also had her never really had a proper feud when she is the champion. So it's just it just doesn't work. I never was a Rhea fan. I thought I was good. I convinced myself when she first debuted in 2021 that I was a fan, but I ultimately just really wasn't. I think I kind of convinced myself to be a fan, but I really wasn't. She was all right, but she was okay. But I was like, oh my God, Rhea Ripley. I don't get the appeal of this woman. I think the fans are being hypnotized of a star power that she has. I still don't really view I don't view Rhea as the type of megastar. I just don't, and I never did. And it's evidence here where they clearly don't really care about Rhea at all that much, because in terms of how she's been booked anyway on TV, that her as a person, just the way she's been booked compared to everyone else who is viewed as a top star, right? So I don't know. It's favoritism. It's a slap to the face to that entire women's division, who should be given an opportunity and show what they can do, instead of being treated, doing backstage segments with some of them, or be forced in these tag team matches or whatever. It's just it's a shame, and it's a waste of time, and you're just ruining the women's division on SmackDown that could be given a chance to thrive and to show their personality, to show the character, to show interest in their just in their characters. Who are they? Do I like you? Do I hate you? And they should be invested in this person and that person. Let me care about the rest of these women. And I think with one of them being the champion, it would make their star power shine more than it used to be. Look at JC Jane, right? And so all that stuff. But what's your final thoughts about all of that? What you have to say, what I have to say about all of that, and then we can move on.
I mean, at the end of the day, she's a top female star, like her or not. I mean, she is. She's Triple H's favorite. I mean, I'm a Rhea fan, but I agree with what Miami put in the comments. Obviously, So here's the thing. I'll try to land the plane, but they moved Rhea over from Raw to SmackDown because that division over there, they didn't want to put the title on anyone else. You know why? Because she sells tickets at the end of the day. She sells merch. Every arena that she goes in, her fan base on social media outweighs anyone's besides maybe Roman Reigns or a Cody Rhodes or a CM Punk or maybe a Liv Morgan. But I mean, I agree with Miami. They have to stop putting the title on, but they're not gonna do it because she's making them way too much money. My biggest thing, and I've told you guys this, I told you this, online and then out on in personal phone calls. She is the female Roman Reigns of the WWE, and I'm not meaning it in a favoritism way, but that's how they view her. That's how TKO views her. She's the highest paid women's star on the roster, and that's not going to change. We're not going to be able to change it. But what they've done now is they've messed up SummerSlam, and they're already struggling to sell tickets. They've messed up 3 possible matches, and now we got a U.S. champion in the ladder match for an interim championship that's only going to be held until Rhea Ripley comes back, and then they're going to face off, and Rhea's going to get the title back. They moved Rhea to SmackDown to beat Jade Cargill and take that title off of her. So it is 1,000% favoritism. I don't like it, even though I'm a Rhea fan. They should have just had Charlotte and Jade. They hate each other. They were going to have a street fight, whatever. They should have made that for the title. There's a crap ton of heels already on SmackDown. Put the title on Charlotte. She's super over right now. She could have faced JC, Blake, all these other people. But no, they want to throw all these randos into a ladder match. And I'm not for it. I don't like it. I don't like anything about it.
I agree with you in that perspective. What I'm saying is that they could have just had she could have been stripped. They could have done the same thing. They could have done the same thing with this ladder match. That's fine. And then whenever she's able to come back, then they could do the that's fine. They could have done the rematch with her with the vacant championship itself. She didn't have to keep on holding it, and they didn't have to create another championship like they did back in 2011. They didn't have to do that. So it is a complete waste of time. She could have just won it back like anyone else who gets hurt or has some type of sickness or illness who gets forced to get stripped, but they win the title back when they get back eventually. So they have a case the case of never losing the championship based off injury. Perfect example. We don't talk about the men too much, but it's relevant to right now is Seth Rollins. And so it's just
another one of Triple H's favorites.
Yeah, but still, I don't know. It's just frustrating because this is going to make, I would think anyway, would make people not care about Rhea Ripley and will view Rhea Ripley like Roman Reigns or like John Cena in terms of playing favoritism. And then I'm very intrigued how people will feel about Rhea Ripley moving forward if they keep treating her like a person that's being shoved down people's throats. But the problem is, I don't think Rhea is being shoved down people's throats. I don't hate Rhea. I don't think Rhea's getting 3,000 opportunities because she's not winning the title every 5 seconds. But it's just the fact that they are keeping a championship on someone who is clearly hurt, and they clearly don't really care about her to have her take the time she needs, not have her carry the weight with that championship. And I feel bad for Rhea because probably in her mind, she's saying to herself, "Why am I still with having this championship? And why? I want to make the division better." I feel I get that sense from her that she cares about everyone involved in that women's division. That she respects everyone in that locker room. I get that feeling from her. So I don't know what she's thinking, how she's feeling about that perspective, and this whole interim stuff. So I feel bad for Rhea because it isn't her fault. It's just she was just was given the golden spoon, and good for her. She's really happy about that. She gets paid very well. I'm sure she's happy with the position she's at, but I think deep down she feels bad because this isn't how she wanted her run to be like, and she doesn't want to be perceived as someone that is presented as a favoritism and being protected by management. I feel bad for her because I don't think that's how she really feels or takes it that way. So it's just unfortunate, and it's really selfish from the company to do this to her and to the rest of that women's division.
Well, the last thing I'm gonna say about this, Kyle, is truthfully, we don't really know what the doctors were telling Triple H and head of all the creative. We don't know if they were given false hope or if TKO was just like, all right, we're gonna ride this out because it's very sad that Rhea Ripley has to go on at an event, a power slap contest, and get interviewed and basically say, okay, well, I have a torn Achilles in my right knee. It's getting better, but I can't bend my knee. Well, that should tell you right there she ain't wrestling at SummerSlam. So we don't really know, what the doctors were feeding the top brass at TKO and WWE in regards to her in ring when she was going to be able to come back. But at the end of the day, you don't wait 2 weeks before WrestleMania and screw up 3 people or possibly 6 or 7 people having a single. What's that?
You said WrestleMania. So 2 weeks before WrestleMania.
Yeah, I meant SummerSlam. Sorry, yeah. 2 weeks before SummerSlam, like when there's other matches that could have been, that we all wanted to see. Like they've been building these matches over the last month, and now they're all going to be thrown into a ladder match for a title that Rhea could possibly be back by October, whatever. I don't know the date. So whoever wins faces Rhea, and then whoever wins that match is the actual undisputed champion. So we know that Rhea's getting a title back when she gets back. It doesn't matter who wins. So it's made me the least invested in the match. I don't care. I don't even care who's in it because I know when Rhea gets back, they're losing it. So I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like anything about it.
Yeah, again, it's we'll get into that now. I guess we had Tiffany Stratton versus JC Jane. The winner would be in the ladder match. Before this match happened too, we had Paige and Brie Bella to take out Fallon and Lady because they had that match for the tag team championships at Saturday Night's Main Event, we'll get to later on. But this was a straightforward match. Tiffany wins with the moonsault, and she's going to SummerSlam. It is her hometown, but she is the U.S. champion. We said it before so many times about Tiffany and JC here. I thought JC could have been a shoo-in to win here. I thought they could have done a scenario where they'll have Blake Monroe come in to interfere and cost Tiffany the match, and then that will be the spark of their match for SummerSlam for the U.S. Championship, as I thought that was going to end up being the case instead of her do a backstage segment every single week. But that didn't happen. It was a straightforward match with Tiffany winning. It would have been even better too if they could have just had JC just pin Tiffany very clean, and then even if she didn't win the championship at SummerSlam, they could have gone you could have had whatever this September pay-per-view is, or even on TV, have a claim. JC could have a claim of saying, I pinned the U.S. champion. I want a chance at the U.S. championship at, next week or SmackDown or something like that, or the next PLE, whatever that will end up being in September. So all that was just a waste. I didn't care for that. And then, but at the end of the day, though, I can't hate on it too much. Tiffany shines very well in ladder matches. She won the Money in the Bank in a ladder match. She's great in the ring. This is going to be her second ladder match that she's been, or maybe third ladder match that she's been a part of that I can remember, because I think she had one in NXT. I believe. I may be wrong, but either way, point is that she shines in ladder matches. I'm looking forward to seeing what she could do, and it is her hometown, so it makes sense. She did say that she didn't know what she was going to do at SummerSlam, so this wasn't clearly the plan, but with the cards that they were dealt, this is what they came up with, and it was a very quick turnaround. I'm sure this wasn't the original plan, but because this was a quick turnaround for everyone involved with this ladder match. But I'm glad she is going to be wrestling in her hometown, and she has a match at SummerSlam, so that's good. But how you feel?
I hated it. I'm not hating on Tiffany. I mean, she's obviously not one of my favorites, but you got JC Jane, who absolutely carried the NXT roster for an entire calendar year, a couple of title reigns, TNA Women's Knockouts champion. They bring Fatal Influence all in together to SmackDown. They are just covered in mega heel heat, like Dominic Mysterio type heel heat when they first get there. JC the absolute best in the group on the microphone. I feel like she's the best out of the three in the ring. Fallon's also good on the mic. Laney is very green still, but very she's still good in the ring, but she's very green. Like Mike, JC does all the promos for this group. She beat Charlotte Flair. She beat Alexa Bliss. She went to a no disqualification match with the goat is what they call her of the women's division right now, Rhea Ripley. So they were teasing a Rhea JC match at SummerSlam, and she loses to Tiffany Stratton in 5 minutes. Clean. I loved your idea at the beginning when you first started talking about it, about having Blake interfere, costing Tiffany the match. Then we get Tiffany and Blake at SummerSlam. JC moves on to the ladder match. So now JC's back again, delegated to a cheerleader role when she's the leading person in that faction. I'm super happy for Fallon and Laney. I love Fatal Influence. Everybody knows that. But now you got to throw JC into some sort of 6-woman tag match. Probably more than likely that's where they're going at SummerSlam with the Bellas and Paige. So I mean, I don't like it. I'm happy that Tiffany has a match in Minnesota. She's from there, but she could have defended her title in Minnesota. This is for the interim world women's world championship on SmackDown. This is the problem with creative when you have Liv Morgan, the women's world champion on Raw, in the finals of the Queen of the Ring tournament. They are duplicating that again by putting another champion because Triple H is so afraid to book these mid-card titles in these PLEs. I'm not a hater of Tiffany, but 1,000,000% was the wrong move because it delegates JC back into being stuck in the stuff with the Bellas and Paige, and that stuff needs to be done. I don't like it. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, and let's talk about Paige in particular for a minute. You know, we're going to get to it in a minute, but they lost the tag team championship at Saturday Night's Main Event. This would be a perfect opportunity to have her in one of those spots in the ladder match. I think that's what they need. What they should do, and not have her still associated with Brie Bella or Nikki Bella whenever she comes. If she does come back, I think they are wasting Paige's talent as a single star, still associating with Brie Bella and the Bella Twins as a whole. This is supposed to be a quick thing. I mean, not quick thing. A temporary situation. I can understanding what they're going to end up turning up at this point. I'd rather do a natural separation and just have Paige focus on the current women that she's never had a chance to be in the ring with, because she was gone for a very long time in WWE, and now she has the chance now to show what she can do now in the women's division and no longer part of the Divas era that she was a part of. And she was only there when the women's division happened for a very short period of time when she first came back from her first injury, I think it was. I don't remember when she. Yeah, I think no, when she left the first time for something. I think it was injury or she got let go that first time. And then but they didn't do nothing with her then because she got hurt really quickly. She came back now after all these years later. Do not relegate Paige to be in a tag team or relegate her to be feuded with the Bellas. It's beneath Paige. I think she should be working with the newer talent. Have her face JC Jade. Have her face Blake Monroe, Tiffany Stratton. Have her rekindle the feud she had with Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Jade. That all these women that she's never been in a ring with before, and even over on SmackDown, or Raw, because I didn't know what she was going to stay on Raw or SmackDown. She's been on SmackDown for a while now. Maybe that's where she'll stay. But if she ends up on Raw, there's Roxanne, there's Liv, there's this is names on this is newer names for Paige to be in the ring without being invested in singles matches. So Ruka, another name. So I hope that they don't end up doing a 6-woman tag at SummerSlam and you just let Paige do her own thing. So I hope you're wrong on in that prediction or theory that was purported or something. I hope that isn't the case, and they just worry about Paige as a single star moving forward instead of focusing on Brie Bella. So maybe to do the rematch on SmackDown, I guess, for the rematch, I guess maybe. But then after that, she needs to move on and be involved with the rest of the women's division and focus on facing new women as a single star.
Well, the only other thing I can think of, Kyle, to be honest with you, and I mean, I agree with all your points, like, but we know WWE, like, Nikki's been cleared, so, she was in New York. I don't know why she didn't show up at Saturday Night Main Event, but technically they're probably going to turn on her. Maybe they don't. I don't know. But at the end of the day, she signed a 2-year contract. So that was back at WrestleMania. So they've already wasted 6 months. So she's got a year and a half left. Obviously she can resign, but we know how that's going with all the re-signing and all that in WWE right now. So I don't like it either. Being delegated to having all these single stars. We've talked about it in personal conversations before you started the show. Having all these single stars combined up in these tag teams, because at the end of the day, if you don't, there's no tag team divisions. Like, that division is terrible. Like, there's no, like, it's like 2 teams, maybe 3.
Well, they should just get rid of the tag team championships and just focus on the women's championships and the secondary championships only. That's what what should be focusing on.
I agree. I mean, but at the end of the day, like, maybe they do something different. I don't know, but it, just based on WWE and how they like to do their storylines, I highly doubt it. They're going to do some sort of continue, because you can't keep Fatal Influence off the card, especially I guess they can, and they have. But they just won the tag titles, so maybe it's done on the Go Home SmackDown. But I really, honestly think we're getting a 6-woman, at SummerSlam with the Bellas and Paige and JC and Fallon and Laney. Like, JC Jane being delegated to that is just it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling.
Again, I'm gonna keep the faith that doesn't happen, because it's still a rumor, but we'll see. I love based off of facts instead of speculation. So that's how I am. So I'm gonna keep. I know it's not that I don't believe you. I just to keep the faith of we haven't seen no hints that about the balance and other stuff. So I'm gonna hold faith and hoping it'd be something different. They changed plans for Paige in particular for SummerSlam. Hopefully, but that. So so there's that.
Anything's possible. You know what I mean? They change stuff. I'm just going by storyline.
I get it. I mean, I'm not. It's I just hope that theory is wrong, or that speculation match is wrong. So hopefully I want to believe that's going to end up being wrong. So, and it doesn't happen. So, but we'll see. I may not be wrong anyway, like I usually am with this type of situation, but I don't know. This is why I don't focus on the news so much. I just focus on what I see on TV. But anyway, but we'll see what happens there. But so then we had Nia Jax versus Jade Cargill in the ladder match qualifier. This was really not even a match, because Charlotte came out very quickly and took out Mia Yim and BFAB that was ringside, and then Charlotte attacked Jade, which I thought that was stupid, caused for a DQ, and Jade is going to SummerSlam And next week, they're going to do Charlotte versus Nia in a qualifying match for next week. So Nia is in another qualifying match for no reason after she lost. And even though it wasn't her fault, it was Charlotte's fault. I get that. But we all know what's going to happen here. Jade's going to come out next week and attack Charlotte, and Charlotte's going to be in the ladder match, and then they're going to and screwing up Nia again. Look, I'm not even a Nia fan, but I'm just like, why you put her in that position, knowing that is like, if you don't intend her to be in the ladder match, don't have her in the match. Put Lash Legend in that situation and have Lash be pissed, and then she'll get been in there because she got screwed over. Why is Nia in this in the first place? Not Lash Legend. I don't know. But this whole narrative between Charlotte and Jade was completely stupid to me. I feel like that was a waste of time. I think they could have just had Jade just pin Nia, honestly, or something like that, and then or cause a count out or something, right? Could have done a count out scenario, and then if they still wanted to do Charlotte and Nia for next week, they could have just done it that way, and then had not. I don't know. Point is, to me, Nia should never been a part of that. Nia lost. I get why she wants to. She has a gripe and all that stuff. But I would have preferred. I didn't really thought about this, but I didn't really thought about this till now. But I would prefer Charlotte versus Lash Legend on SmackDown itself for that qualifier. Honestly, to be honest with you, because what's Lash doing? She's also playing cheerleader, and yet WWE has told me, and the fans have been raving about Lash Legend, but she hasn't done anything. Again, perspective is everything. What I see and how what I see on TV for some of these wrestlers, like Lash Legend in particular, how I keep hearing people saying Lash is great, Lash is this, Lash is everything. But what has she done since she's been on SmackDown? What has she done when she was on NXT all that, a couple years ago? A whole lot of nothing. That doesn't mean anything. She hasn't been a champion. She really hasn't really had a really interesting storyline. I don't really care for her matches at all. She hasn't been. Haven't seen one great Lash Legend match yet. So it's just, I don't know. Again, perspective is everything, and they are clearly pushing Nia more than they're pushing Lash Legend. She's playing cheerleader as well, like Liv. And so I don't know. I didn't like this. I think it was so stupid. Charlotte looks like a fool ultimately to give Jade a spot at SummerSlam, but all this was a complete waste. And I last thing I'll say again, I wish next week's match was Charlotte versus Lash instead of the other way around. But that's all I have to say about this. All right, you go ahead, man.
So we know why Nia's getting pushed. I don't have to say it. I mean, do I really have to say it? Because everybody knows why. It's terrible. I will say this though. The Charlotte Jade build going back to the Queen of the Ring up until what we were going to get at SummerSlam, I was invested in that. But now with the Rhea stuff, as I mentioned when we were talking about it, it's a trickle effect on the entire, roster. Maybe Fatal Influence wasn't supposed to win a Saturday Night Main Event. Maybe they were supposed to win at SummerSlam. Maybe it was supposed to be JC and Rhea at SummerSlam. Like, who knows? At the end of the day, I don't like anything about it, but Charlotte and Jade were supposed to fight at SummerSlam. So Charlotte's qualifying. There's no chance that Nia's winning this. But what I don't understand is, yes, Charlotte interfered, but are we going to see the same thing in 2 days on SmackDown? Like, is Jade going to come down and attack Charlotte and cost Nia the match? So why isn't JC Jane getting another match then? I mean, I think it should have been Charlotte Lash. She is a cheerleader at this point. But Nia, she's part of the Samoan dynasty, so she is going to get preferential treatment. And that's just how it is. I'm not against them. I'm just stating the facts. But Lash, she's supposed to be this powerhouse and this up and coming future women's champion, and she's a cheerleader. It's the same thing with JC. It should be Charlotte last, but Charlotte's qualifying. You know they're gonna have Charlotte and Jade in the ladder match. They were supposed to fight anyway, and it's just all one big circle to get right back to the original plan that Triple H loves to do. I guess when he puts in the creative plans and stuff, but I don't like it. It was a half a minute match. I don't expect much more. Charlotte ain't pinning Nia. It's going to be some sort of shenanigans again, and here we go. So Charlotte will qualify. I don't know who the other two will be. Maybe we can guess that later on, but I don't know. I don't like it, but they were going to fight anyway, so they might as well both be in the ladder match. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. So I mean, that's okay. I don't know. Well, the one person that should be in the ladder match and just doesn't want to show up, they don't want to have her show up on TV at all, only one time in London, and that is Blake Monroe, again doing backstage segments. She attacked Candice LeRae. I'm like, okay. I have no idea why in the world this woman is attacking lower card acts. First, it was Kiana James, then Julia, then Candice LeRae. I assumed because Blake attacked Julia in the ring in London, they were going to do that match, that feud. They're going to have a few matches on SmackDown. They probably both would have qualified to be one of them to be in the ladder match. That would have made sense to do, right? But no, they keep having Blake doing backstage segments, and then now she's attacked Candice LeRae, who's meant nothing to the show at all, because she's been worried about her husband and not been in anything that has not been in no storyline whatsoever. And it's just been doing backstage segments and trying to, and she's not in her career is in the garbage. She doesn't care about the US championship. She doesn't care about the women's championship. She just only cares about her husband and doing these backstage segments every single week. And now you have Blake Monroe doing the same thing, doing backstage segments, attacking low card women. I thought when she attacked Julia because she was a former US champion, and they did that on SmackDown in her hometown in London, I thought they were going to have a match the very next week or lead up to something, but they chose not to. They have her backstage again with Kiana James. She attacked Kiana James, who turned on Julia, and that led nowhere. And she's supposed to be a heel, and then now that Blake attacked Kiana too. I don't know what she's supposed to be. Is she a heel? Is she a face? Is she just, I have no idea what they are doing with Blake Monroe. It is really frustrating, and it's really starting to make me think, why they ever brought this woman up on SmackDown if they chose not, if this is what they plan on, this is what she planned on doing. I feel bad for her because I know how big of a fan she is in WWE and how bad she really wanted to be here. She did a great thing on NXT. They have done her terribly on SmackDown so far. They need to change that. This woman needs to be in the ring, cutting promos, being in a feud with someone in the ring instead of doing these backstage segments every single week. And also, by the way, be in the ring with women who are ahead. I thought it was going to be Tiffany Stratton. That could have been a great SummerSlam match for that championship, and a great feud because of they're very similar of how they're been presented on TV from their time on NXT and Tiffany's time on the main roster. That would have been a perfect feud to do. But no, they have her doing backstage segments attacking low card women who mean nothing on the show. What is happening? And I feel bad to say that about Candice. That's how Candice has been booked for the longest time since she came back to the company. So I thought she would change it to something, because remember with Candice that she was the former Speed Women's Champion, and I thought they would have her do something when she came up to SmackDown. And when the US title existed, I thought she was gonna probably win that and it gets some type of credibility, but that turned out to not be the case. And we're at this point now with Candice that I don't think she'll ever will mean anything unless they turn it around one day magically, which I doubt. But it's just, until that day happens, this is what they have her doing and would have and being to punch it back for Blake Monroe doing backstage segments instead of having Blake herself that they treated like a god on NXT and treated like some type of megastar, but she comes up to the main roster and this is what she's been doing since she's been on SmackDown. This has been weeks since she debuted. And what makes it even worse is that the vignettes from the first half of her debut and then of her, throughout her debut of coming up, of the whole coming soon vignettes, to her coming into doing backstage segments for her first appearance. It kept doing backstage segments, and they only showed up to do anything in the ring because it was in her home country. I think that's pretty stupid and pathetic. Get this woman in the ring and get this woman an incredible feud with the current women in that mid card to start her off with. That is credible, that she could have credible feuds with, that would make sense. I'm done. You go ahead, Dan.
So I don't want to add fuel to the fire, but obviously, if you were in that media room and you asked Triple H this question, his new saying now in the creative room is, "It is what it is. This is what it is." At the end of the day, Kyle, I mean, everything you said is 100%. This is a former AEW Women's Champion. She was phenomenal over there. Obviously, she never won the women's championship in NXT. I didn't really feel like she was booked to her maximum potential over there either. So you bring her up to SmackDown. They have a backstage segment with her and Chelsea Green, and then WWE wants you to forget that they did that because they love to do that. And then we start getting the Veer Mahan type vignettes where she's coming soon every week. And then she talks about Rhea, and she talks about Charlotte, she talks about Tiffany, she talks about Julia. And every single week she's talking about somebody new. And then she goes on Tiffany Stratton's Twitch, shoves her face into a birthday cake, which is the perfect start to jumpstart that feud to roll into SummerSlam. And now she's attacking Chelsea Green backstage. She's attacked Julia. She attacked Kiana James, which she is actually a heel, which absolutely makes absolutely no sense at all. And then she attacks Candice LeRae, who is basically standing there watching her husband laying on a plank 24 hours a day for the last, 4 months or so. The bookings is so bad, Kyle. It really is. I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy here, but I mean, anybody that's a fan, I'm a fan of this stuff at the end of the day, and somebody has to call them out when something's wrong. I would love to see her in the ladder match, but like I told you when we had a personal phone call about this, is it the right move? I mean, she hasn't even had a match on the main. She was wrestling on the main event before they brought her up to the real show. So, do you have her qualify and go to SummerSlam and possibly win, or maybe her and Tiffany cancel each other out and we get that later on? I don't know, but I guess you could put her in a ladder match, but I don't think it would help her to win the interim championship when she has not had a match on television, and you just automatically give her a qualifying match, automatically put her into the ladder match, automatically put the interim championship on her, and then guess what? When the Eradicator comes back, she's going to get decimated by Rhea, and she's going to lose the title back to Rhea. So, in my opinion, that's burying Blake Monroe when she's already, in my eyes, truthfully, Kyle, they have no freaking idea what they want to do with Blake Monroe. They don't. To sum it all up, they have no clue what they want to do with her. Maybe she's in a ladder match. I'll be happy if she is, but people that support her and are big fans of her are not going to like the result if she wins the title, because when Rhea Ripley goes back, it's going back to Rhea. So,
yeah, it's just, again, it all comes down to Rhea should have just relinquished the championship when she did, so that this whole secondary championship nonsense would not have been a thing. And then that was good. And just, it's just it's so frustrating because Blake should be facing Tiffany at SummerSlam. Oh my God, man! Oh,
And
oh,
they had
so
it.
frustrating.
They had it right there in the back. I mean, they started it with the whole Twitch stream. Like it was right there. I mean, it was so easy, Kyle. Like it was just like reaching out and just grabbing it. Like it was there. And like I said, I'm not going to put this on Rhea Ripley though, because this is a TKO Triple H creative decision. This ain't a Rhea Ripley decision. She don't
Yeah.
run.
But I want everyone to know that again. I am not a big fan of Rhea Ripley, but it is not her fault that she's just being told what to do like everyone else on that show. She wasn't asked to be the top star of the company. She wasn't asked to get all the cheers that she's been getting. It's just people just gravitated towards her and she roll with it. That's what you do when you're in a company in a big type of company like this where you people will crave this reaction. You know how many women and men are not getting this type of reaction that Rhea gets, or Becky or Charlotte, all these women who are being positioned that as a top star. So it's not her fault. It's just WWE's fault of being selfish, of keeping a championship with someone that's clearly hurt and not giving her the time to heal, to have her rest up, and when she comes back, it will be you can pick off where you started. So it's WWE's fault. It is not Rhea Ripley's fault. I want everyone here to know that, because you hear me complain about it. But I don't hate Rhea. I don't mind Rhea. She's not my biggest fan of by any means, but it is not her fault. It is clearly WWE's fault. I just want to put that out there because I've been super upset and angry about that. But I want to put that out there to the people who are listening to this, that I'm not a fan of Rhea, but it's not her fault. It is clearly, my frustration is clearly towards WWE's booking decision.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like I feel like if she had a say so, which I don't know if she does or not, she probably don't. Um, she probably would have said, hey, go ahead and take the title off me, let somebody else have it for a little while until I get back or whatever. TKO is trying to sell tickets. They are struggling so bad to sell tickets. They had to lower the price to $25. So they thought they could just possibly squeeze Rhea Ripley, squeeze that lemon just a little bit more and get more people to come, because she does get, you're right, 100%. Besides the Romans and maybe one or two others, she gets the loudest pops out of anybody in the whole company. So, I mean, I understand a little bit from the business side of trying to have Rhea on that card because she's such a big name in the company. But there comes a point in time where you don't wait that long, because then you mess up creative for other ladies that want that big moment at SummerSlam as well. So it's all on Triple H.
That are active.
Yeah, exactly. It's all on Triple H. It's all on TKO, and it's all on creative. That's ultimately that's who it falls on. So they're responsible.
Yeah. Okay. So that was SmackDown. Like I said, a lot there that we had to dive into for SmackDown. But let's get into Saturday night's main event that happened. Man, look, this is a show, CJ, that generally nothing really happens. It's a filler show that happens on that plays on Peacock. That's really always a week or two after the actual pay-per-view, always. But maybe since they were in Madison Square Garden and changed it up a little bit, because we had Paige and Brie Bella versus Fatal Influence for the tag team championships in a rematch here, mind you. And they won here. The Fatal Influence did, because Jessica Carr is a terrible referee. I saw that from Paige when she posted on Twitter. When she said that Becky was right about this referee and all this stuff. I thought, I was like, oh man. So, yeah, but look, at the end of the day, I am happy Paige is no longer a tag team champion, because she used to be in that singles reign, whether she goes after the women's championship, whether she is going to be going after even the U.S. championship, or if she stays on SmackDown, which I think she might. Again, they didn't really clearly indicate which brand Paige is gonna end up being on, but because she's been on SmackDown consistently, my guess is she's gonna stay on SmackDown moving forward, but which is fine. And so if it was up to me for my decision, I would get away from Brie Bella. I would honestly just focus heavily as a singles wrestler and not focus too much on this tag team scenario. I know the whole narrative is about Nikki Bella coming back. That's the reason why Paige was a part of this tag team in the first place. They came out of nowhere. I get that narrative. That's going to be that if Nikki comes back, she's going to, Nikki and Brie are going to tag Paige, but then who does Paige going to, how she's got to handle that in a 2-on-1 affair. I think they should just not even focus on that, in my opinion, and just have her just focus on her feuding with Blake Monroe, or her feuding with JC Jane, or anyone else on Tiffany. Even have them just have her face these single stars on the show, because they would benefit majority of these women who are not being treated very fairly. I think of Julia Paige feud could be really fun to see. Get Paige in the ring with these newer women that she's, like I said, never been in the ring with before, or hasn't been in the ring for a very long time, like Charlotte, and just get something going with her as a single star, because you brought her back. She is still very young. She's still very relevant, and people want to care about Paige, but since she's been in this tag team, her reactions has been lessened and lessened. That needs to change. She needs to be feeling like she's still a top name on that show, because she is, and get her back and some singles matches and some singles feuds that would be really interesting to get into, so that we could come on here and talk about that, right? Instead of her being in a tag team scenario. That's what I would love to see. I'm going to keep wishful thinking of that will end up happening soon, and they will do this whole Bella Twin beatdown, because if that does happen, who does Paige gonna? She has to find help. Then in that case, I think all of that's completely just unnecessary. I wouldn't do it. I would just have a natural split and have them move on, and have Brie do something else until her sister is clear to come back. So whatever that is, and not have Paige involved. But that's what I would do. That's what I would prefer. But that's all I say about that. Involving Fatal Influence winning the tag team championships, it's fine, but there's no tag team on either show, on Raw or SmackDown, or even on NXT, that will be credible enough or interesting enough to have, because they don't care about women's tag teams at all. I am surprised overall. Look, when he first brought the tag team championship to 2019, it was all right. It was good. It was a good concept, because at that time I wasn't really thinking about a secondary championship. It has been brought up before in the past. I never really thought about it at all at that time. But now that they do have them, to focus on the secondary championships only and not about the tag team division. And they need to stop being exactly like the men, for every little thing, going all the way down to championship belts. They should have had both women's championship championships, and both secondary championships, and that's it. And that's fine. And everything else could be a grudge feud for a personal issue of two women hating each other because they don't like each other. I wish they would have done that and not done this tag team garbage. And so I don't know. I don't like this. I don't like the direction they plan on doing if they end up having Paige and the Bellas feuding with each other. Because again, who does Paige align herself with to counter the Bella Twins? It'll be a 2-on-1 thing if that does happen. I wouldn't do it. Like I said, I'm gonna be wishful thinking and hoping that moving forward, Paige will find her way in a singles reign, or a singles feud moving forward. Have her feud with Blake Monroe. I would like that more. But that's my thoughts. CJ, how you feel? Oh yeah. By the way, again, for Fatal Influence again. By the way, I don't know what they do as tag team champions. I feel bad because I like them enough. I think they're a great group, but I don't know what they do. And JC Jane is just, I feel bad for her again because she was a former NXT Women's Champion, and this is what they have her doing. This is not what I thought she would be doing when she debuted on SmackDown. Maybe she was planning on feuding with Rhea, but again, this whole Rhea thing is screwed up everyone involved because I think they would have done a few, like maybe 2 matches between Rhea and JC, but it's not happening. And I feel bad for JC in particular because she was the NXT Women's Champion for how long? Said us even about Roxanne, and look where both of they are right now. Currently, I think that I feel more hope for Roxanne, which we'll get to in a minute, than I do JC right now currently. But you could go ahead, CJ.
So I just want to say this. The Bellas get a lot of hate, obviously. But I personally want to say that Brie, in particular, she's been training a lot with her husband. You can tell from some of her movesets in the ring. I think she has gotten better in the ring. I'm not gonna, just give them all the hate or whatever. Nikki, she's Nikki Bella. At the end of the day, I will say this: Paige and Brie have been the champions since WrestleMania. And they've defended the titles almost as much as Penta has. They went through a lot of title defenses, so I will credit them for that. There's upper card champions on both brands that don't defend the titles as much as Paige and Brie did. So I do commend them for doing all they can do with those tag titles. It was the right call. I don't know. Ultimately, JC was the reason why they won. She held her legs down. Jessica Carr, obviously, getting involved in something else. I don't know, if Jessica Carr is going to have a match. We'll see. I doubt it. Hopefully not. I don't know. It's that division is so thin is the best word for it. So I think it's just to have them have the spotlight. They deserve it. That's the way they were brought in. But then you got JC Jane, and just like you said, Rhea's injury messed up a lot of creative plans because Rhea and JC was apparently supposed to wrestle at SummerSlam. Whether JC won or not, that's irrelevant. It still would have been a big match for her, win or lose. She is the one that ended Stephanie Valcour's long NXT title reign on NXT. And she ran that division. Fatal Influence ran that division for a long time. It's just terrible. She's a cheerleader now. So I don't know. I don't know what they do with them. Like I said, I don't even think they defend the titles at SummerSlam, truthfully. But there was something that you brought up, and I don't know if you watched the Nikki and Brie show at Fanatics Fest. They had Paige and they had somebody else on as well. I think they're gonna get AJ Lee involved in this as well. I really do. I mean, why would they be talking about it on the show if they're not really gonna do it? Nikki was talking about teaming up with AJ, or Bree's talking about teaming up with AJ, but it's ultimately probably gonna be Paige and AJ against the Bellas when they go heel. So I don't know.
Again,
I don't like it.
I saw Paige and AJ together in that podcast thing there. I didn't watch all of it, but I didn't know she was there. We just saw that before. What is it now? 11 years ago. I don't want to see it again. We saw it's been there, done that. At the end of the day, to me, first of all, AJ hasn't been seen since WrestleMania, so that would be just, we said this before, before the show even exists. That earlier in the year we said about AJ that she's there, she's not, she's there, she's not. It's like back and forth. At least Paige is there every week, so I can't say that about AJ. So it's even if they wanted to do that, I don't have any faith in AJ of committing to be there every single week consistently. So I'm taking, a break. She's there for a month, but then the next month she's taking a break, and then back and forth like that. It's like, but I don't want to see that. So.
Right.
And like I said, Paige getting a tag team, I'm done with that. I don't want to see that anymore for Paige. It's a waste of time for her. So I just and we just saw it before, and I don't want to see it again. If that is the plan, if that is the direction, I hope that isn't. So I mean,
they could have been teasing around. They could have been teasing around at the end of the day, but I mean, Nikki did say like word for word that they're not done with Fatal Influence. So it has to be something to do with Fatal Influence and those three ladies at SummerSlam. I can't see them possibly getting. Maybe they do throw Paige in a ladder match, and maybe it's Nikki and Brie against Fallon and Laney. But then how do they turn? So if they're gonna turn, so I don't know. They even talked about facing each other in a War Games match. So I don't know why they would be why they would be talking about War Games and beating each other up with kendo sticks if they're throwing out nuggets for the fans. So unfortunately, I love Paige, but I think for right now she's going to be stuck in this Fatal Influence Bella vortex because that's just what it is. What it is. That's what it is what it is. Triple H is his favorite saying now. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't wait to hear what Miami Final Boss Baby say Saturday. I'm sure they're gonna shred them on the creative, and I've been shredding them every night. So it's terrible. Paige needs to be a single star, but I think she's got to get past all this stuff with the Bellas and Fatal Influence first. But it was the right call to put the titles on them. But what do you do after? Your guess is as good as mine. I guess they faced the baddies, heel versus heel. I guess they faced Nia and Lash, heel versus heel. There are no credible baby faces on SmackDown for them to face or Raw. Like, what are we doing? Create some tag teams.
Yeah, so I mean that, again, that happened, and like I said, again, I hear what you're saying, CJ, about Paige and Brie and being in attack, doing that 6-woman tag. I hear you in that. That would make sense at this point for right now to do for SummerSlam. But at the end of the day, we both know that Paige deserves better than being stuck in a tag team scenario, and so maybe it'll be a one and done, and then it can move on. I guess it's my fear is that if the plan is for the Bellas to turn on Paige, who does Paige have for like an ally and all that stuff? Then we got to figure out that situation, that scenario. It kind of okay, yeah, I guess. It kind of sucks too. It kind of sucks that freaking Alexa is hurt because of this whole plan about a War Game scenario. That could be a thing too, but I don't know. We'll figure out later. Whatever. We'll dive that hill when the time comes for that. But let's move on to Bayley and Lyra. Lyra came out. I'll have to say this, man. I'm not. We both know I'm not a Lyra fan. I never have. She wasn't when she was at NXT. I wasn't really feeling her at all at that time. She was like, I didn't really get the appeal on her time on NXT. I didn't get her appeal her time on Raw. As a babyface. I think that was the problem. Her as a babyface, I could not get. I just couldn't get over at all. It just was not working for me. But then she turns heel. She turned on Bayley. I was like, ooh. When she first turned on Bayley, I was like, ooh, this could work. I could see something here. It was very early, but I could see a potential here. But then when she finally did the magic, she changed her theme song. We talked about this last week. That if this heel turn was going to work, she needed to change her theme song, change her look, or make it slightly different. It's not exact. She didn't really. It's the same, but it changed and it's different. And she comes out on like with no wings neither. She's like she looked like, as we keep saying, she's coming out now looking like a homeless woman every single week now. That's clearly her new gimmick now, which I'm fine with. But I really enjoyed the match. I enjoyed the post match from it as well. So I loved everything about what Bailey has done. Here we'll get to Bailey a little bit too because she was at that when we'll talk about what happened on Raw with her in a little bit. But I enjoyed that entire presentation of Lyra at that show, and I'm glad she won. And we're gonna be off in the races with her, potentially facing Sol, as we've been keep talking about for a while in the last few weeks. Sol and Lyra for SummerSlam potentially. So we'll get to that in a minute when we talk about Raw. But that was really good. Good. And so I enjoyed everything about what Lyra did. Now going over to Bailey. Bailey has been not. She hasn't done anything relevant for a very long time. I don't remember like when she came back last year to be part of Raw. She's done nothing since she came back, and it's just been it's been downhill since last year. The company forced her not to be part of WrestleMania last year. She the entire year of last year was kind of like a waste year. She hasn't done a whole lot of nothing. Her teaming with Lyra that kind of meant nothing. Looking back, all throughout this year, she had to. She was given a match for WrestleMania to be in a tag match, but they didn't win the tag team championships. Both Bailey and Lyra kept going after the tag team championships on TV, been unsuccessful every single time. And Lyra was the one that turned on her, which was surprising because I thought it would have been Bailey because we knew how good of a heel Bailey was. I didn't know how good Lyra was as a heel. Clearly, she was a heel before her time on NXT. I didn't really know that, or I didn't really thought about it too much because my first time really seeing Lyra was her time when she debuted on NXT itself, or when her time she was in when she was on NXT UK. That was really my first exposure towards Lyra. But I remember seeing a video from her before she came to WWE as a heel. I was like, oh wow, she was a heel beforehand. I didn't know that. So she played that gimmick before. But this homeless thing really do enjoy. But again, I'm sorry I'm going off topic a little bit. For Bailey in particular, I feel bad because I don't know what they do with Bailey moving forward. She was not on Raw. She this past week, and so yeah, it was really this entire match was to build up Lyra as a heel and get Lyra to that next level when she ultimately, I assume, be facing Sol for the IC championship at SummerSlam. So how do you feel about this match? How do you feel about the presentation, and where you think it goes from here? And so go ahead.
So for me, Kyle, I wasn't the biggest Lyra fan. I didn't really like the bird wings and everybody cooing, like pigeons and stuff in the crowd. But at the end of the day, like this has to go down as one of the brightest spots for storytelling in WWE right now because it goes all the way back to WrestleMania where Becky took Bailey's spot. Bailey then started the split personality disorder Lyra was there for her. She got tired of like maybe carrying when what she calls in her words dead weight. She said Bailey was the worst out of the four horsewomen, which we could kind of get on that if you want to talk about Bailey. But at the end of the day, this was absolutely executed to perfection. I love what they're doing with Lyra. They changed her music. She does look homeless. It's like she hasn't slept in about a month or taken a shower or any of that stuff. I love it. Ultimately, it's a great start. She definitely, I feel like, in my opinion, that's how I'm gonna word that on these type of shows. In my opinion, she's facing Sol Ruca at SummerSlam, and I mean she interrupted her at Raw. They wouldn't do that for craps and giggles, so to speak. That's probably where they're going at SummerSlam. They got to pay it off though. But I love what they did with the match. The match was great. For me, one of the best matches on the card, if not the best overall match on the card. Lyra got busted open and all that. She played that off really well. And then after the match, she absolutely decimated Bailey. So, if you want to get into the topic, we can. We talked about it earlier on the phone, but it's definitely some sort of write-off for Bailey. Obviously, her contract's coming up, at the end of the year. There's a lot of talk going on right now about that. Yeah, I don't know, but we got to get to Lyra and Sol at SummerSlam. In my opinion, Sol Ruka is going to be probably moving up towards that Women's World Championship. I don't think unless Bailey would return at SummerSlam and cost Lyra to maybe finish off that feud. That's really the only way I could see Lyra losing to Sol. Sol hasn't been champion very long though, but that has to be the match. But they eventually have to pay the story off of Lyra. But it's incredible. I love it. I'm behind it. I'm invested in it. But all I'm gonna say about Bailey is I'm a little bit.
Well, I was gonna say, I was gonna say after like leading up to that, I was gonna say, where do you see Bailey moving forward? Like going after this loss, and after the fact that she wasn't seen on Monday. Is she done with WWE? Was that the last match for her?
I wouldn't say it's going to be the last match for her. I do think she maybe tries to extract some sort of revenge on Lyra, maybe after Lyra wins the title. Maybe they could have a title match. She isn't going to win. I think she's done. From what I was told, and Sap reported it as well, she hasn't re-signed. I just will say that. And I know that TKO is really into, really into the whole restructure thing. She has kind of done everything she can do in WWE. She is a cornerstone of the Four Horsewomen original. But her best friend is in AEW. I believe her contract expires at the end of the year. I think we see her in all elite wrestling starting the new year. I don't think she resigns with WWE.
Yeah, I mean, look, I like for me, again, like I said, I was never a Bailey fan, so it wouldn't really. This is where I personally wouldn't be heartbroken if she does leave, because it's. I mean, Bailey to me, it's not. Is it Becky or Alexa or I view them as higher for me than I do Bailey here. Unfortunately, I'm sorry for the Bailey fans, but Bailey isn't for me. But so. It is what it is. I think, overall, I think, her best work was when she did turn heel in 2020 when her and Sasha did, that when they were tag team champions, and then they had that great match at Hell in a Cell that year. So, I mean, it's, I always think back to that, even her feud with even Bianca as well, I enjoyed. So, it was a good run overall. If this is it for her, ultimately, I'm not really sure. But at the end of the day, she hasn't been relevant though for a long time, and so I just don't know what else you do with her moving forward. I mean, I guess they could continue on with the Lyra stuff at SummerSlam, I guess. But I mean,
for me, Kyle, like I do love Bailey, and a lot of the female stars have, Maxine's and several others. They always talk about they've learned so much from Bailey in the back. She is a locker room leader, but ultimately Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks, is in AEW. Let Bailey go. Like there's plenty for her to do over there. There's a huge women's division over there. There's nothing left for her to do in WWE. I'm telling you, in my opinion, as a fan, I do not believe that Bailey re-signs with WWE. I think she is headed to All Elite Wrestling. because Sasha Banks or Mercedes is not coming back to WWE. I've seen it all over the IWC. That is not happening unless she said it on Instagram herself. Unless you get going in the Hall of Fame, she's not coming back. That is hysterical to me that people would think that. Let her go and be over there with Mercedes. Like at the end of let them have matches. Bailey could be a future AEW Women's Champion. She's still young, so let her if you want her to restructure and you don't think she's worth the money that she wants, and obviously I truly, in my opinion, believe that's the case. Let her go to All Elite Wrestling because they got the Teklas over there. They got the Mercedes. That division is pretty stacked over there. So a lot of people, would love to see some of those dream matches for Bailey over in AEW. So I personally, like I said, in my opinion, I think when her contract expires, similar to what happened to Sheamus, I think she's done. I think she's going to be with Mercedes in AEW.
Yeah, at this point, if that's the case, just let her go then, and just let's have Lyra and Soul end up feuding with each other for the IC Championship. That would be a fun feud to get to see, and I could get behind that. And so let's go ahead and do that. So speaking of Soul, she wasn't on. We're going straight to Raw somewhat. The women's division on Raw. I want to say this real fast. There was no women's segments at all on this show at all on this past week on Raw. I think that was pathetically stupid. The fact that we have to wait till next week to get at least one women's match that's been announced for next week. We just had Liv and EO just brawl with each other. They don't have a segment. They didn't have a backstage segment to hype up their match at all of any kind. They just had them EO being behind a Danhausen card thing, whatever. I don't even know what it is. But some type of card thing or whatever to attack Liv because they have their match at SummerSlam, but yet they don't have any type of video packages. They don't have any type of they're not doing video promos to each other or anything. It's this build to their match hasn't even exist. And so I find that disgusting. You have Roxanne not doing anything. She was part of that backstage segment that wasn't even on TV. That's the other thing too. That wasn't even on TV. If people don't have a VPN on Netflix, which I don't, and so I didn't get to see this until I actually heard it from someone who was doing a watch along. I was like, oh, this happened. Why was this not on the show itself? They made this match official for next week for Soul and Raquel again. For this match is happening again when Soul won. This was what they did this match 3 weeks ago. And Soul won, and they're doing a rematch again for what reason? And Roxanne is still doesn't mean anything still. After this is disgusting, man. What is happening? This could have at least been Roxanne, but she's not even. They are just. Why are they hyping up Raquel more than they are Roxanne? It is insane. It is weird. I don't hate Raquel. Raquel's fine, but they've been hyping up Raquel a lot more and leaving Roxanne out of the picture. Why is Roxanne still part of Judgment Day? Why is Judgment Day even still a thing? I have big issues with this, man. And Soul, she doesn't get time to speak at all. She doesn't cut a promo. We rarely hear from Soul at all. She just comes out there and wrestles, and that's it. Like, who is Sol Ruca? Why does anyone care about Sol Ruca? I almost feel like Zarya was end up being right because she's been crapping all over Soul. Yet what has Soul done since she came to Raw? A whole lot of nothing. Mm-hmm. I don't know what she is. She's holding a championship belt that Becky made relevant. That Becky trusted in Soul to give her a rub, but yet I feel like I mean I don't know. I don't think Becky's thinking like this. I'm just thinking like just in general as a as a person, just in general. But I don't think Becky really believes in this. But I'm thinking that Becky would think I gave this woman a championship, and she's done nothing relevant with this championship. She's not even on TV every week. I wasted my time with this woman. I know that's not how she really thinks, but that's just how I would like to think of how Becky perceived that theory. But anyway, yeah. At the end of the day, I feel bad because I do like Soruka. It isn't her fault again. Like we said earlier, it does come down to the booking, and it's just they don't know how to book women's segments anymore. They don't know how to book the women's division anymore. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, the women's division just doesn't exist on Raw. There was like no women's matches at all on Raw. Just random women who are in a faction doing something with the men and not with each other. So I didn't care for this, but I am happy that we're getting a women's match next week, and hopefully a little bit more matches will be announced for next week for women's matches or segments of some sort, because there were none this past week. But that's all I have to say. How you feel, man?
I mean, it's ridiculous. I want to touch one more thing that I left out about Lyra, and I'll move on to Soul and Raquel. Tatum Paxley. I do believe in my opinion, again, I do believe we get her sometime after SummerSlam. I think that's a perfect feud to start her off with Lyra. They have the previous history in NXT. So there's plenty for Lyra to do once she wins the Intercontinental title. So Soul, yes, you're right. If you don't have a VPN, you didn't see her. People on social media were talking about maybe she took time off to get some face work done, which I don't know. I looked at the pictures, and I'm not judging. Like, people do what they do. It's their life, it's their body. I love Soul. If that's what she chooses to do with her face, that's on her. But I did see that, and I believe that is confirmed that she did do that. It's terrible. Like, you got your women's Intercontinental champion on a balcony when they're on doing their ads and stuff. If you don't have VPN, you can't see it. Triple H loves trilogies. So that I had a shirt a long time ago that said that, and we're getting it again. We're getting Soul versus Raquel next week. I don't expect. I'm just going to tell you this, and this kind of bleeds into Liv and Io. Raquel's not winning the Intercontinental Championship. You know why? Because the Judgment Day is involved with Danhausen. Danhausen has cursed the entire Judgment Day. That none of them are winning. Dom's not going to win. Like, they have ruined this Liv and Io storyline, and they basically made Soul irrelevant because they had to rush and put the title on her because she come up from NXT. I think that was a big mistake. They should have waited a little bit longer. Soul's incredible in the ring. I'm not taking that away from her. But there's not a chance. I don't feel like, in my opinion, Raquel's winning that title. We're going to see some sort of voodoo stuff from Danhausen, I'm sure. This whole Judgment Day is centered around Danhausen. He was on NXT last night. So, like, they are really wearing this guy thin. He is up in the top 3, I believe, in merch. I get it. He's making them a lot of money. But, I mean, what do you think, Kyle? Like, for me, they've already basically told you who's winning between Liv and Io at SummerSlam. Like, Liv's cursed.
Yeah, like, I hate it. I hated that. I guess we could get into that now with the whole Io and Liv brawl that they had. They couldn't bother having them have a backstage segment, promo segment. Like, they could have done a thing where they could have done like a video packages of with like having Io say something, and then later on, and I have Liv say something, because again, next week is the final Raw before SummerSlam. They're in LA next week. That's the final Raw, and yet, what have they done? Now, maybe because too, that also makes it even worse that they already wrestled already at Night of Champions, which I thought that was stupid. they could have someone else, and then maybe this feud would have had some type of interesting development if they never wrestled once before already. Maybe I'm just guessing. Maybe it will still be the same thing anyway. But we already seen it already, and it wasn't all that great. Now I hope that this will be a better match because I'm a fan of both women, as I keep saying every week. Every week, I'm a fan of Io. I love Liv. It's just Liv's reign has meant nothing since SummerSlam, and it's just they teased a match between Liv and Stephanie was gone. What a waste of that perspective there. And poor Io not been relevant at all. I assume, honestly, that Io was going to be probably in the IC title picture at this point, whatever. I don't mind her being a world title picture, but whether Liv or Io end up becoming the champion coming out of SummerSlam, we still have a problem. We still don't have any credible women for either women to face. If that whoever walks out as champion, they still have the same issue. So whether Io wins the championship or whether Liv retains, we still end up in the same spot here until I don't know. Roxanne turns on Liv, Raquel turns on Liv, and they have more credible, interesting women on the show, and instead of doing what they did last night, not having no women's segment, or no women's matches on the show at all, and just just I don't know. I feel what's Maxine doing? Being Liv Morgan 2.0.
She's been a little she's a little Lita and Edge-esque is what I consider Maxine and Austin. I think they're a little bit more graphic than Liv and Dom, if you really want my honest opinion.
That's true. Yeah, I guess that's really more that is more accurate. It's just this whole thing about Maxine. She said that she wants to be taken seriously. She wants to be all this stuff, and yet she's just being a girlfriend on TV and attacking the men and being the girlfriend of a guy that has meant nothing to this company, and it's just that's pretty she said that she wants to be the IC champion again, but yeah, she's not interacting at all with Soruga. She's not interacting at all with Io or anyone else in that women's division at all since she turned heel. What a waste of time. She's in a feud with Alpha Academy. She's in a feud with men. So that needs to change if she wants to be taken seriously as a wrestler, as she said that she wants to be. So actually wrestle. I love her as a heel, but have her in that women's division instead of her feuding with the men. Anyway.
At the end of the day, Kyle, last thing I have on Io and Liv, I mean, we've already seen the Danhausen effect. When you're cursed, you're not winning. So for me, in my opinion, I'm gonna go ahead and put my prediction out there. I'll say the same thing next week when we predict on my show, and obviously when we talk about it on yours afterwards. I think Io's winning the title. What they should do, Becky Lynch is on her final run, her final contract. Have her come back. She's on vacation, doing whatever, spending time with her kid. Understandable. She deserved that. We get Becky and Io. Maybe give Becky one last world championship run, because
I've been watching the feud between Becky and Io, by the way, too. So yeah, I like that.
That's really the only thing I can think of, because Liv has went over 100 days without a title defense because they've been waiting on Stephanie Valcourt, who, if you watched on Real, obviously you've seen that she needed time off. Her body was like shutting down basically from all the traveling and wrestling every single night. Maybe we get Stephanie back at SummerSlam. I don't know. I don't think Liv Morgan leaves Minneapolis with that title. I don't. She's cursed. And Danhausen's just not going to show up Monday and be like, all right, well, I'm going to lift the curse. They're playing this whole cursed angle into this storyline. I hate it. But I think Io walks out of SummerSlam with the championship. And then you can bring Becky back. and then have Becky go after even if Becky don't win the title, then maybe you could have Roxanne, or Roxanne win the Money in the Bank, and then maybe Liv gets mad because Roxanne cashes in on Io, and that's how you split up the Judgment Day. I think the Judgment Day is done. I think it's been done, but that Triple H just does not want to let it go. For me, Kyle, and I love Io and I love Liv. They have completely spoiled the winner. They did it on the kickoff show. So
yeah. They just it comes down to the fact that they didn't have nothing for Liv throughout this entire title run. Had Liv had some few matches with a few people that were, who were kind of in the lower card a little bit for before she faced Io, maybe it would feel like a bigger deal than it does right now. And it's sad because they're both great, and I enjoyed their matches. Well, the one match I can remember is was back in 2024 when Liv was when Liv was the champion before, when her reign meant something, because her character was great, even though she still at that point did have 8 challengers as well, but at least her character was the reason why her reign was great. But now, since we already seen this character already, it's just we've been there, done that with her character and it's been lacking of credible challengers, and she can't rely on her character work to excuse that. So, I'll definitely would have Io win, but then I would fear that it'll run in the same thing with Io, because it'll be the same thing with Io's reign, like it was in 2025. So I don't know. I think at the end of the day, as we keep saying, they need to wake up and get this women's division, at least on Raw, some juice and some excitement, because it was like that, but all of a sudden it ended up it went downhill very quickly, and it's been on the SmackDown side of women who are credible enough to be in that position. But I don't know what happened, but it became a big downfall really quickly on the Raw side of credible challenge women on that show that's relevant.
yeah, I mean it's a Danhausen. It's everything centered around Danhausen with the Judgment Day, and until that's over with, obviously we're getting Danhausen versus Dom for human monies, and Triple H put that post out that lets you know right there that at the end of the day, none of them are winning. So they've completely ruined. And let's go back for a second. Liv and Stephanie wrestled for 6.5 minutes at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell everybody that's listening to this show, if you guys think for a New York second that any of these matches besides Roman and Seth and Cody and Punk are going to get the ample time they deserve, you must not be watching the same product I am. What's going on, Bob? I see Bobby commenting on YouTube. So it's terrible. They're going to run all these ads. I don't even think Liv and Io I don't think they get 10 minutes. I don't. I don't think they're going to get 10 minutes.
Their match should be at least 15 minutes, honestly, at least. I mean, come on. I hope they have time.
Well, I mean, they didn't at WrestleMania. Maybe they improve it for SummerSlam. I wouldn't count on it with the ads and the commercials and stuff. But the Danhausen effect has completely taken over this Judgment Day storyline. So let's get all this over with. Let Io win the title and then move on. I think Liv wants to she was supposedly is going to be making another movie at some point. All she really seems to be caring about right now is herself and how many views her songs got on Spotify or whatever. 1 million views, I think, as she said. It's time for her. It's time to take the title off of her. It's over in my eyes. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, look, I'm happy for Liv to be in that position. You know, I personally enjoyed her. You know, her music video. I enjoy that. If she ends up being in a movie, that would be cool to see her in that too. Whatever that is going to end up being. I may not like it though, but I'll support her in that movie or movies, whatever she's going to end up being in. So at the end of the day, Liv deserves all of this because there was a time, as we said before, that she meant nothing when she was part of the Riot Squad. And now she's at this position, which I'm happy that she is. You know, I do enjoy her reign as the women's champion. I just wish it was better. I do love seeing her with that championship every single week, and then her character work is fantastic. So I mean, it's everything about Liv is great. Again, it comes down to the booking, but Liv is fantastic in the role that she has. I think her heel was the best thing for her, and I think her being part of Judgment Day was the best surprise I've seen ever. Roxanne, on
Yeah.
the other hand,
Oh,
Roxanne
oh my
never
gosh.
needed Judgment Day. She needed to be by herself from the very beginning, and should have stayed by herself when she was drafted over to Raw last year. But we'll talk about
Well,
Roxanne later next week because we got that's all.
yeah. Well, let's quote Triple H for a second before we move on. So Cody is considered the golden boy,
I wish Roxanne was
but,
wrestling for WWE. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
but on WWE Unreal, which I'll be recapping late Saturday night. Triple H called Liv Morgan the Golden Girl of WWE, and she deserved everything she gets. She has busted her rear end from coming from nothing, basically being a jobber. When she cashed in on Ronda Rousey, finally getting over that hump and winning the Royal Rumble. I'm not hating on Liv Morgan. I like the song. I like her, but it's time to put the title on someone else. Both of her title reigns have been centered around Rhea Ripley or Stephanie McCourt. It's not working for me. And she's cursed on top of that. So I just don't see her walking out of Minneapolis as the champion, and maybe bring Becky back and have Becky and Io feud until the fall. Or you could do Soul and Io, Maxine and Io. Like, there's so many different ways that you can go. I think Liv probably will take some time off after SummerSlam, truthfully, or maybe her and Roxanne are both the Money in the Bank. I hope so because I'll be there. But yes, I can't see any way possible she leaves Minneapolis with the title. I just can't.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, and then Bobby said here, I wish that Roxanne was wrestling for the IC Championship against Soul. I agree. The way they've been booking Roxanne for a while has been garbage. The curve with Judgment Day has been. I didn't agree with that when they first was starting to tease that. And again, we don't know what would have happened had Liv never gotten hurt last year because that was a quick thing. So, and I'm not gonna say it's been wasting for Roxanne, but she hasn't won any matches since for a long time now at this point. You know how many losses now Roxanne had, CJ?
Uh, 58. Since she debuted on the main roster, she's wrestled the most singles matches on the female side, but she has lost 58. 58. She has suffered 58 defeats, whether in singles or tag, since being on the main roster, which is by far triple the most of anybody on the main roster.
Yeah, so that's gross. That's disgusting. She's a former NXT Women's Champion who held that championship for a very long time. So I don't know what we're doing here with her. It's sad. Get her away from Judgment Day for the love of God. She needs to be by herself. Clearly, it's holding her back, and have her win Money in the Bank in October. I mean, CJ says he's going to be at Money in the Bank. It's going to be a great thing to see Roxanne win Money in the Bank.
I'm
You
excited.
know, I
I'll be there.
Yeah, so that's all I have to say about that. I'm surprised we talked a lot about Raw, even though we had nothing that much to talk about for Raw, but we had a lot there, a little bit there, so that's good. Last thing here is NXT. That happened last night. So they made it official between Kendall Gray and Lola Vice. They're doing the underground match on August 4th. I thought their back and forth on the mic was great. I thought they were both intense. Kendall Gray, I love her to death. She is great. She is fantastic. I thought it was funny to see Ren being all nervous saying, but they when Kendall brought up the underground and saying that Lola was undefeated. You know, when they say that too, when someone they keep saying someone's undefeated so many times on TV, and when the commentators say it, that means they're losing. So it really didn't fully matter what Lola was talking about that time because they keep bringing it up. I was like, okay, well, I know where this is going, and I knew, and ultimately, no matter what type of match it was going to be, I knew Kendall was going to retain anyway because she's going to be champion for a long time, and Lola should not be there at all. So whatever, doing the rematch there. I think it is what it is. I feel bad for Kalani Jordan. We saw her you saw her in the backstage complaining to Robert Stone about, why is I'm not getting an opportunity, all this other stuff. I still think hopefully man, I thought that was gonna be the match for Heat Wave between Kendall and Kalani, but maybe just gonna be happen on TV for the actual feud itself. But there's that there. I'm just get this match over with. Let's have Kendall move on to someone else, like Kalani, what is her name?
Rena.
Crap. No, the other one. Callie Armstrong.
Kelly Armstrong.
Yeah. And so I would do that instead of doing the same old with Lola Vice. But maybe this is going to be her final match, and then she'll end up on the main roster when this is over with, and we can finally move on. What does Ren do? I don't know, but I thought it was just funny to see Ren's face when Kendall brought up the underground. I thought that was pretty funny, but overall, but that's how I feel about it. But I'm looking forward to seeing it. But we've seen this so many times now between these two, multiple times, like almost every week at this point. So I'm ready for Kendall to defend their title against someone else, someone different. So, how you feel about this?
I loved it, honestly. That was something that we talked about last week. Kendall Gray is, when she gets on the match right now, where she's at in NXT, she's better. And this ain't an opinion. This is a fact from me. She is better than 98.9% of the women on the main roster right now. And all I said last week was, this is going to break her out of her shell. She seems like she's kind of the tomboy type, maybe a little shy. She absolutely fried Lola Vice on the mic. You could see that passion starting to come out. So I knew once they made her champion, the only thing she really needed to work on was her promo skills. And by the time
I thought this promo was a lot better than what happened last few weeks ago.
100%. She killed it. She killed it on the mic, and that's what it takes. Like for her to be champion, to be on TV a lot, to go through all these different feuds, because she isn't dropping the title anytime soon. I love that they're setting up the underground thing because Lola's never been beaten. That's a really good way for Lola to go out. I feel like she's definitely headed to the main roster. Her boyfriend is on SmackDown. WWE loves keeping couples together. So I'm sure we're going to be seeing her with Damian Priest soon on SmackDown. Have Lola go for the U.S. title over there, like Bobby said in the comments. This is going to be great. It's going to be fun. Kendall's going to be out of her element because the underground is really not her element. But yeah, Lola's never been beaten in underground, but she will be beaten on August the 4th by Kendall Gray. And then have Kendall move on to the Callie Armstrongs, maybe the Rena Balkans. Jada Parker even threw out some shade at Kendall last night. So there's so many people out there for Kendall to be with. I think the biggest fear right now for WWE and NXT is this is the third match with Kendall and Lola, but they could run Kendall and Kalani again because the match would cook. But Kalani's not winning the title. So like, how many times? I mean, do you want to do that to her before she maybe goes up and joins Carmelo on SmackDown? Like, I don't know. Maybe we just want to see the match, but I loved it. Looking forward to the underground match. I love those types of matches, but Kendall's going to stay the champ, and I look forward to seeing what Lola's going to do on the main roster.
Yeah, for sure. Is he Dame? I don't know. Maybe not right now. Not really.
Too soon. Too soon.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with what you say about that. CJ, for sure. So let's get into Jada Parker versus Natalia. This they're doing this. They did this match again as like it's look. I get look. Well, in some ways I get it because Jada lost. Last day they were in the ring together and all this stuff. But then now Jada won it, and I say let's move on. They had Thea Hale before the match even happened. Thea Hale and was backstage with Carmen and Nikita and Natalia, and it was like, okay, well, they're gonna set up Natalia and Thea, and I didn't know, but I didn't know when they did that backstage segment. But when she came out, I was like, okay, well, that's gonna be the match for that's that's the next feud for Natalia after the Jada stuff. But so there's that. But let's really dive into Carmen and Nikita, like honestly, because these two women, very similar as we said about how they being second fiddle honestly as well. They love doing this honestly. This is like what they do with Mia and B-Fab honestly on SmackDown, where I think they could be elevated to be something over there on SmackDown. Carmen and Nikita even more should be relevated more because honestly, I know this whole narrative about because I think Carmen did an interview. I didn't get the chance to listen. I didn't get a chance to listen to it yet. It happened on Busted Open. I listened to it. Yeah, I'm going to at some point. But I heard that it's about the whole connection of them both being Canadian, both being from Canada. And I was like, that's kind of a weak argument, a weak excuse of you not getting an opportunity to really show what you can do. If she wants to be a heel, that's fine. I enjoy Carmen as a heel. I think she shines more as a heel. She will show her personality more because she hasn't been able to do that because they were doing that whole love interest thing beforehand when she was a baby face. I thought that was lame. She came out with a sword. I'm glad she's not doing that no more. But she's Carmen is great. I think her character needs to develop more of what like who is she, and if she wants to be a heel, that's fine, and she'll be a great heel. But and Nikita as well, I enjoy her too. She's the Evolve Women's Champion. They had when Kendall was the champion, the Evolve champion, she was on both shows, and so that's not really anything new. But it's I like Nikita too, but again, same thing with Nikita. She's not really done anything incredibly interesting. We don't hear from Nikita at all too much neither. And I'm a bigger out of all three women. I'm a bigger fan of Carmen. I think Carmen has a lot of upside to her that I want to see more of her. I like to see her be the North American champion. I want her to get a shot at at some point for the NXT Women's Championship when they give her an opportunity to ever even speak. That's why I'm just gonna just say the North American Championship for right now for Carmen. This is more outside with her. She's a bigger star. I see her as she's on screen as she screams star potential. Now I don't know because I just really like her a lot. She's just really cool, and she's the same age as me, and we were both born the same year. So I think that's the other thing I'm really why like Cara. But beyond that, I just think she has that star presence within her, and I want to see more of her than anyone else involved. I think Carmen and Kendall could end up having a really good feud if they give Carmen a chance. But that's how I feel about it. How you feel about this entire situation? Where you think it's going?
I disagree with a couple of things, and obviously that's why we're such a good team because we're not always going to agree. Natty's a Hall of Famer. She's doing something that a lot of stars need to take note of, and that's elevating the younger talent. I do agree. Like I love Carmen, and I also love Nikita a lot. Nikita, I've her and her mother both follow me on Instagram, Twitter. Nikita follows me as well. Um, so this is my thought. So what are they doing with Thea Hill? Because first off, she's in the TNA women's television tournament that just started, and she won her first round match. They said, or it was reported by somebody, I don't know who, but that she was going to be going down to or moving down to Evolve to kind of work on some things that don't have anything really creative for her. Next thing we know, the next week she's back on NXT television. Her throwing the towel in, I'm not a big fan of that. But I think it's just because we're going to get that trilogy. Shawn Michaels and Triple H are best friends, so he's gonna still follow suit with that trilogy stuff. We're gonna get Jada and Natty, where we get a clear winner. Jada's gonna go over again, and Jada's gonna move on to someone like Zarya or Kendall Gray. Where I think we're going with this, if they're going to keep, I think for Carmen, I don't think she's going to get as much shine as we would want her to on NXT because she's leading a big, huge faction on AAA. And then with Nikita, she is the WWE Women's Evolve Champion. So I think they're getting their shine on those brands, and they're soaking up and learning stuff from Natty on NXT. So ultimately, then this is just a prediction. I do believe that we're probably going to get something like Layla Diggs, Thea Hill, and Jada Parker against maybe those three at some point in a 6-woman tag. But I think Natty and Jada's having one more match. Jada wins. She goes over. Natty was on the Brandy Rhodes show, I believe, this week, talking about she wanted to go after Tiffany Stratton's. She wanted to be in the ladder match. So I don't know what that was about, but
her being in a ladder match where she's been spending a lot of time on NXT. What sense does that make?
Yeah, I don't know. She was just talking to Brandy Rhodes. They were drinking, so she was on that sauce. So I don't. Who knows what she was talking about? But at the end of the day, like Natty's she's putting over a lot of the developmental and the NXT and the younger talent, which is I commend her fully for that. Jada goes over the next time against Natty, beats her clean. I didn't like Thea Hill throwing that towel in. I think that was stupid. But I think Layla Diggs obviously is going to be the baby face in this as well. They're going to set up something to where they end all this. But I do think Carmen is a big character on AAA, and obviously Nikita is the women's champion over on Evolve. But why is Thea in the TNA tournament and then right back on NXT, and then she was on Evolve 2 weeks before that? So I don't know what they're doing with Thea Hill. But I think this is ultimately going to culminate with Jada Parker getting the ultimate rub, so to speak, where she can eventually go after like a Zarya or a Kendall Gray for a title. So
yeah, I mean, I can see that. Zarya was not even on TV at all last night, which is weird, but whatever.
Bobby said Thea Hill showed up on Evolve tonight, so there you go. She's on every show. So what are they doing?
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. That came out of nowhere. I don't know why that's really weird to me. I mean, Thea doesn't really mean anything right now. It's like what, like she's clearly bouncing around now all of a sudden. Like because she stay on one show and stick with it. She's going to be on NXT to end up having issues with the tie. Just focus on that, and then bouncing around when she is going to be starting a feud with someone on NXT. What is this? What are you doing with Thea Hale? Bouncing her around to show the show. I don't know. But let's get into Reina Valkin. They said her name differently. And versus Skylar Ray. Now, I knew about Skylar Ray a little bit on Twitter. I knew that she was she won the LRG show with Charlotte Hill. I saw that from before. I thought they would do more with her a little bit more, but she's rarely on TV. She doesn't get time to say anything, and she just there like 2 weeks in a row, just getting squashed by newer people. Or this time it was Rada. The other time it was Zarya, And I was like, man, can she end up being in the ring with someone that isn't going to squash her to death? But it was a good showing for her. Ultimately, she did a good showing, but ultimately, Reyna Balkan completely destroyed her. I thought she's definitely powerful. I think I think Zarya and Reina will end up having a good feud for the NXT North American Championship, whatever they end up doing that, whenever that happens. Zarya disappeared this week. I don't know, she just wasn't on the show, which was really odd. And that, and so, but I don't know what to do with Zarya with her reign. She said she wanted to be the North American champion for so badly when Soul had it, but yeah, she's a champion and she has it. She's done nothing relevant. She took the title away from oh my god, what is her name again?
Tatum Paxley.
Tatum, thank you. And so yeah, she just disappeared. And Reina and Jada, that could be fun too. Ultimately, at some point, that could be a thing I could get behind as well. So, it's something that I just a few, those two names in particular got just stood out to me in terms of like first like feuds that I could see her in before she's in the ring with Kendall Gray. Ultimately, I think those are the two feuds as of right now I could think of that I could like to see her in the ring with. Maybe even I'll throw in another name. She has I don't know if they'll do this or not, but Izzy Dame, maybe Lizzie Rain, maybe even as well. I don't know, but definitely Zarya and Jada to me for some reason I can see that a little bit more. That kind of intrigues me a little bit more than anyone else on NXT currently right now. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing who she will ultimately end up being a feud with whenever that time comes. Maybe they'll do it after Heat Wave. I don't know. I could definitely see it probably like a after Heat Wave type thing with her, whoever she ends up in the ring with, in a feud with, I should say. But it was a good first showing for her. Very powerful. I think her and Zarya can really end up having a really good feud and a really good match if they end up going down that direction. But how you feel about it? What's your thoughts?
Skylar Ray. She obviously I've covered every season of LFG. She did win season 2 with Shallow Hill. She has won a match on the NXT roster. She was in a mixed tag team match with Shallow, some sort of Christmas thing with Christmas trees and stuff. I believe it was. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was. Maybe she wasn't in that match. Maybe it was Tavion Heights and the season 1 winner of LH Tower May Steel. That's who it was. It wasn't Skylar. So she's been wrestling a lot in the indies.
I think it was. I think it was her. I think I can remember. I think it was her. It's Charlotte.
Okay. Well, so she's been doing a lot of work in the indies. I believe she's also doing some stuff on Evolve now. She's a former Tennessee Titans cheerleader. She looked pretty good in the ring. I just think that that division is so stacked right now until they start thinning the herd a little bit and getting, moving up to the main roster. She's definitely going to be somebody I feel like that can contend for maybe Ren Speed Championship or something like that at this point in time. She was a squash match for Callie Armstrong in her first match on NXT. And then obviously when Rena Balkan on debut last night, Rena absolutely destroyed her, but I feel like Skylar still looked pretty well in the loss. I love Rena. I think she's phenomenal, but there's one thing that I don't like. I do not like her finisher. I did like Lex Luger Torture Rack, but for me it's just very similar to that. And I think with her being so strong and powerful, they could come up with something else. I'm not a fan of her finisher, but I am a fan
Maybe
of her.
a drop or something like or like a
anything. Kyle. That finisher it just does not. Whoever come up with that does not suit her. But I guess it's maybe just a power thing. Like Luger, he was very strong. Maybe it'll grow on me. But ultimately, Rena Balkan is going to be a star. She could be one of the ones that possibly could be the one to end Kendall's reign way down the road. But I'm looking forward to seeing Rena in the match with Callie Armstrong and with Jada. Love to see Rena against Zarya. Those two going at it Oh man, sign me up for that. She's amazing. Skylar's gonna get there though. She is very athletic. She sells well. The crowd loves her, so she's a baby face. And she's gonna get her time, but Rena's time is now. Basically. So I expected a squash match, and that's what we got. Look forward to seeing where they move forward with Rena from here.
Yeah, for sure. And so yeah, we'll see what happens there for that. And next week they announced will be Izzy Day versus Lizzie Rain for for next week. Very similar names, so bizarre. So that's happening next week. That's all we know for next week. But that's pretty much all I have for tonight. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for CJ for showing up again. CJ, tell anyone where you could find you.
Yeah, great time. We kind of didn't think that we would have a whole lot to talk about, but this is our longest show, which was great. We got a lot of content out there. Shout out to everybody that tuned in. Obviously, you can find me on X at EVP Instagram, same handle. My YouTube handle is at the EVP Show. You guys can tune in tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. I will be going into the reality TV, getting away from wrestling for a night for the Big Brother season 28 week 2 recap show. Next week's a big week for me and you. I got a full slate, obviously, for you guys that have been watching on my channel. I got the SummerSlam prediction show coming up next Wednesday with 9 Kyle and 8 Miami and 7 others. So tune into that and then come back after that and listen to check me and Kyle out, as we'll be talking about SummerSlam as well for Queens of WWE episode number 7. So thank you, Kyle, for having me here. I enjoy this show, probably right up there with any of the shows I do myself. So thank you for having me. Thank you for everybody that tuned in tonight.
Yeah, for sure. So you can follow me on Twitter at KyleRochelle96. And I have the rundown with the World of Greg every Monday at an hour before Raw. And I am also here every single week, every single Wednesday for Quizzes WWE with my co-host CJP. So we'll be back here next week. I will also be, one of his prediction show, like he said, next week as well. So we'll hear from both of us twice in 1 week. So that should be cool. But thanks for listening, and we'll see everyone here next week. See ya.